Hey guys, I want to do a quick video explaining some of the lesser used effects in the Helix, give you an understanding of how they work in case you don't know so that you can use them if you need to. And today we're talking about the 3-band compressor. I saw a comment about it about a week ago saying like, how did you use it? Does anyone use it for guitar? And you can use it for guitar. It's really useful. I use it almost exclusively for bass because it's great for compressing just the low end or the high end of a bass sound and then keeping the rest intact, keeping it tight. So I want to go over the parameters and explain it and help you figure out if you want to use it or not. So let's start with the ratio, 2 to 1, 3 to 1. So what this is, I'll give you an example. Let's go to my low threshold. So my low threshold is set at -40 dB. So if I on my guitar reach, let's say -50 dB, that's -10 over the threshold, and I'm set on a ratio of 2 to 1. For every decibel that goes over, it's attenuating 0.5 in this case because it's 2 to 1. So for example, I reach -50. That means it's going to bring down my low to -35. So it went over by -10, it'll compress -5, and so we're ended up with around -35 dB of sound. And so basically, as you go up, it'll compress more and more and more, right? So 4 to 1, I go -10 over, it's going to compress it 7.5 dB, and it sounds harsher and harsher. So for guitar purposes, usually people keep it low, anywhere between 2 to 1 or 6 to 1, 8 to 1, 12 to 1, 20 to 1 is usually for bass. But I mean, if you want to compress it that much, I'd say go for it. Like, I mean, if it sounds good to you, then obviously do it. But generally for guitar, you keep it between 2 and 6 or 7. We don't have a 7 option here. Attack is how quickly it will start, your effect will start to work after it passes the threshold. I'm going to keep it pretty low for guitar playing, around 30 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds, somewhere in there, pretty quick. Release is big, like think about it like sustain. It will keep your compressor going after it passes the threshold. Basically, it just will keep your volume up a little bit in theory for 528 milliseconds after it passes the threshold. So the real confusing part is these crossover frequencies. And I have an example of another plugin to give you a visual representation of what these crossover frequencies are doing. So this is Ozone, and this is a 3-band compressor. It's actually a 4-band, but I've turned this 4th one off. And it's representing what's going on in here. We're just going to bring this to 3K. So here's my low frequency, and then this is the crossover right here. It's at 400. So if I move this, let's say, so anything 400 and below is my low frequency. That's what I want compressed when it reaches that threshold. So if I bring this to 300, for example, and let's just do 300, that's going to move it down. So now technically 400 and to 3K is in my mid range. It's going to be compressed with my mids. I hope that makes sense. And then obviously the high as well. If we bring this up, let's say to 6K, now we're saying anywhere from 300 hertz to 6K hertz is my mids, and they're going to be compressed. Those sounds are going to be compressed with my mids, my mid threshold. So you're basically telling it what you're considering low end, what you're considering mids, and what you're considering your high frequencies. For guitar, I would say, I guess as a rule of thumb, like lows, you can compress a little more drastically because you should have those in a mix elsewhere. You don't really want to clash with them. I think most people kind of go for that anyway, unless you don't have, unless you're trying to fill space, really. So I would keep it between 400 and it only goes as low as 20. But at that point, 20 is like it's hardly even audible. So I would keep it, let's say around 330, and then our highs, we'll keep those a little lower as well. And one thing I didn't mention is it should shelf. It should be a shelf type curve, which is this here where it says 300 and below. It's not a bell like this one is. That's just the example that I have. So those are your crossover frequencies. Your level is almost like makeup gain. So as we know, a compressor attenuates, brings stuff down, and then it'll bring lower sounds higher, bring them up with the level. So this can be anywhere between, more than likely you want some makeup gain or makeup level. So I'm just going to bring that up to like 4, 3, 3.5. Now this, your threshold, is where it will start to attenuate as you're telling it. So if you want less low end, you want it to compress more, you bring it down. So as soon as it hits negative 50 dB, let's do it on here so you can actually see it. Where is where's our frequency? It's gonna be in here. Band 1. Our threshold. Let's do like, you can see it so you can see it. Let's just do 30, negative 30. So as we pass that, you can see it's that much. That's what it's doing here. So if we bring it to 35 and we say we want it compressed at that level, we want anything that goes above 35 to be brought down closer to 35, depending on our ratio. Let's do 4:1. It's basically going to take out similarly your low, and you're not going to hear it as well. So let's and if we turn it off, you're probably going to hear a lot more low end. Yeah. Let's turn it back on. So right now, we are taking out, basically we're using the 3-band compressor to really specifically bring down low end and for the most part leave our mid and highs alone because of our gain here. So we have this 0. We're not boosting that. We're also not cutting it, but we're not boosting it. We're just telling it to bring it down once it passes 35. Let's bring it down so you can really hear. This should take out a lot of the low end. It'd be like putting a high pass filter on. We're not getting any low end. And as we bring it up, you'll start to hear more because it's not compressing it as much. Right? So we're going to find a happy medium, put it around 45. We're not going to boost the gain on the low. And our mids obviously is, in our case, it's anywhere between 330 and 4.5K. And we're boosting all of that. So we're boosting our mids up by 4 dB. And our high, we're gonna attenuate that as well. We'll do as much as, let's just do 40. So we're kind of a mid-focus compressor right now. And we'll bring this. We'll actually boost some of our highs because we do like that presence. So it's super useful if you want to target specific frequencies with your compressor. Obviously, that's what it's made for. I recommend using it, especially for bass, or if you want to keep your mids and your highs tight and just get rid of some of that low end. You don't see the need for an EQ. It's a very, very useful effect. I would recommend just checking it out, messing with some of the parameters and seeing if you get some type of good sound. And then record a video and show me what you got, show me what you like. Anyway, I hope this helps some of you guys. I'll catch you next time.